Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Trauma Killerz Podcast with Christy and Liz. Liz and I want to break the silence of trauma and help others heal their souls. Each week, we dive deep into the roots of human trauma and how hypnosis can aid in recovery. You can also catch full episodes on our YouTube channel at Trauma Killerz Podcast. This podcast is for educational and emotional insight purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health support. Some episodes discuss topics related to SA of adults and children. We approach this with deep care, respect, and the intention to empower survivors. If this isn't the right time for you, we encourage you to pause and return when you feel safe. Your healing is your own, and it deserves to be honored. Please subscribe and share to help us keep the conversation going. Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Major.
And I'm Liz Sullivan.
And this is Trauma Killerz Podcast. So we want to welcome everybody. This is our first official podcast. And we'll go over exactly what we're going to talk about on this podcast, but we wanted to give you a little bit of information about ourselves. So again, I'm Christy Major. I am a QHHT, BQH, and introspective hypnosis practitioner.
Hello, everyone. My name's Liz. Christy invited me to be on the podcast with her. So excited about. So I've been practicing QHHT since 2020, and then we recently took introspective hypnosis training together this month.
Mm-hmm. So we are super excited. Basically, what we're going to do in this podcast is share a lot of stories about the sessions that we've had and sessions that we're going to have. We are going to have guests. We are also going to have live demos, videos of our sessions, audio from our sessions, and things of that sort. So we are super excited about this. We're super excited about sharing all of this with everyone. We want to be sure that we make it clear to everyone that there are certain things we're going to talk about in this podcast that are probably going to be triggering for people. So we will have a warning in the beginning of any episodes where we're going to be talking about anything that has to do with SA or anything like that so that you are aware of what's coming in the episode. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's good. It's for educational and entertainment purposes, so you can learn more about hypnosis if it's something you've been thinking about doing, which it's amazing. I recommend it for everyone, and just to spread more awareness about it.
Yep, definitely. So in this episode, like I said, we're going to introduce ourselves, which we just did, and then we're going to talk about the different types of the hypnosis that we do, how each of us kind of got here, a little bit about our background, how this process has kind of changed us personally, and then some general knowledge about the process. So this is going to be kind of very free-flowing, conversational. So just follow along. If you have any questions, you can certainly post questions in the comment section, and we will be sure to get back to you.
Mm-hmm. So just put your little earbuds in, or do your dishes, or vacuum, or drive, whatever you got to do, and sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, a little bit about the various techniques that we use. So let's see. You want me to talk about introspective first?
Do you want to do you want to do a little history first?
Sure.
That'll introduce us and lead us to IH.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So my first experience with hypnosis was during childbirth. I was reading a book about like nutrition during pregnancy. It was like a paleo-ish book. And the lady mentioned hypnobirthing. And I was like, wow, what's that? So she talked about a pain-free birth. I was like, yes, sign me up. So I researched it anyway. I ended up taking this class with my husband where they teach you how to self-hypnotize for your birth so that you're relaxed, you enjoy it, your skin feels so good. And not everyone, they are very clear about this, not everyone experiences a pain-free birth, but a lot of people do. So I went through and did that, and to my surprise, it actually worked. The pain-free, which is just, it still blows my mind that you can be birthing everything that's going on. And I felt the uterus contracting, but there was no pain. It's just insane to me. So after that, about 3 months later, after everything kind of processed, I sent up a prayer that I wanted to work with hypnosis later on in life. And I kind of forgot about it. Then in 2019, I had my awakening. I kept hearing this name, Dolores Cannon. So I looked her up, and then I started reading some of her books. Well, that summer and I've always had headaches, like real intense tension headaches or migraines. So I said, well, let me see if some of this will help. So I looked up some past life regression videos on YouTube. And long story short, I did a couple of these, and each time I went to a life where I had head trauma. Well, guess what happened? The headaches went away for an entire year. No tension headaches, because those were the ones that were out of control that summer. No migraines, nothing. Year later, they came back, and I know why, which I can go into that story later. So from there, that took me to QHHT. I've been practicing QHHT since 2020, but QHHT, I feel like there's so many holes. It's like a piece of Swiss cheese, right? There's things that they missed in the training that you can't get from them. And when someone comes to me, I'm going to do everything I can to help them. Everything. So I started watching videos from Alba Wyman that led me to Antonio, that led me to introspective hypnosis. And then Chris was actually one of my clients last summer. And I could tell she was kind of understanding this QHHT struggle. So I said, hey, this is how I feel about it. There's this training I'm thinking of going to.
So that was our story. So as far as how I started out, my mother passed away in 2014, and she was my best friend. And it was really difficult. I spent probably about 6 or 7 years in a really deep depression from that. And so I just became really desperate to have any contact with her whatsoever. After she died, I had a few dreams that like we were just hanging out at her house, and it was just a normal day. And then all of a sudden it was almost like the floor dropped out from underneath of me, and I would look at her and be like, you're not here. Like, what's going on? And she just stared right at me and said, it's okay. I'm fine. And, I'm still here with you, whatever. And I was like, what? And again, wasn't really waking up at that point. And, cause again, it was right after she died. And so for me, it was all like, okay, that was just wishful thinking, back then. Now I know a little differently, but, yeah, so that was really kind of profound for me. And so I really was desperate to kind of get that contact back again. So I started looking into mediumship, talked to some mediums, things like that, but wasn't really getting the answers I needed. But I definitely was starting to, really feel the awakening coming, and things like that. So from there, I went to Reiki, and I became a Reiki master. And then the Reiki led me to, a medium that was doing like Reiki and mediumship work. And then that just, like you said, all of a sudden I start getting these videos for QHHT and everything like that. And so the second I saw Dolores's stuff, I never read her books. I never did anything like that, but I was like, yeah, this really sounds interesting. So I did the training. My only issue, like you said, there were like holes in it. Yeah. I kind of felt like something was missing. And I really wanted to do sessions online because I want to help as many people as I can. And I feel like a lot of QHHT practitioners charge an exorbitant amount of money for this. They also require clients to come and travel to them. And so there's the added expenses of that. And so, I'm not made of money, so to me, it was kind of like, this is not, we're basically catering to the wealthy. Yeah, we're catering to the wealthy. Like my mom used to always say, she used to love Oprah until she saw her first, like Oprah's favorite things or whatever it was, where she gives everybody in the audience. And my mom was like, wrote them a letter. It was like, and by the way, my mom actually did have a fair amount of money. So she definitely was not, hurting. She could afford whatever she wanted, but she sent them a letter and was like, I think it's disgusting that your entire audience is wealthy white women and you're giving them all of these things that they can well afford on their own. She's like, if you want to do something, pull people off the street or bring people in that are struggling and give them these things or whatever. But do something with it besides just giving it away to white, wealthy women, know? So, that always kind of stuck with me. And so I really wanted to help as many people as I can. And I feel like we're very limited by not being able to go over Zoom. So that was when I found BQH, which was, created by Candace. And, Candace was, a student. Actually, she was Dolores's assistant for like the last 10 years of her life, I believe. And out of respect for Dolores, she waited until she died. And then she created BQH, and that they allow you to go online and do your lessons. The other thing I liked about the BQH is, they don't require you to do a certain number of sessions before you're considered a practitioner. And things like that. Whereas, with QHHT,
the forum.
Yeah, you have
to say the forum was amazing.
Yeah, the forum on there is really good too. The BQH forum, which was Dolores's original forum, apparently. And then when QHHT broke from Candace, they had to create their own. So Candace, but she still had the original Dolores's original forum. And it's also open to a lot of metaphysical people. It's not just anybody that does BQH. You can join if you do any type of metaphysical.
It's not just the cult.
It's not just the cult, right? And so, and that was the other thing is like, I just kind of felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So I did a bunch of QHHT and BQH sessions, had really good results. But again, I felt like I wasn't getting to the crux of the situation and really helping people. So when Liz came to me about going to Antonio Sangio's course, I did not know who he was. I did know who Alba Weinman was, but I was going to take her advice and, go take this course.
Thanks for trusting me so much.
So we signed up. We went on this course. It was absolutely amazing. Antonio is such a, just a warm person. His voice is like hypnotic. I hear him in my head when I'm doing stuff because he just had this nice rhythm to his voice. Just loved him, and such a great teacher. And he has really taken this whole process and made it something that's not very difficult to learn, but very powerful, and kind of created this community, of people. And, so I really feel like that's the crux of it is his compassion for people and everything and really wanting to help them. And I feel like the introspective hypnosis really gets to the core.
It gets deep. Mm-hmm. It gets right to the issues.
Yep.
Yeah. He's amazing. He wants people to succeed.
Yep.
In every way. He has a mentoring program that he should probably charge more money for, I think. But, it's $10 a month. Like, that's so accessible.
Right. Exactly.
People. And then because he learned this. So didn't Aurelio Mejia created introspective hypnosis, but it didn't have a name. So the guy did it for 30 or 40 years. So then Antonio, because Antonio started with QHHT also, same thing we kind of dealt with.
Yep.
So he learned that, and then he kind of formatted it.
Yeah, exactly.
For Aurelio, right?
Yep.
Like he gave it a name because Aurelio's like, just name it whatever you want.
Right, exactly.
And then he kind of outlined it, bullet points, and this is the process.
Yeah.
But he also includes what he learned from Jose Luis Cabuli in past life regression.
Right. Yep. So it's a lot of different things in it. I guess the biggest difference that I see, is with QHHT and BQH, it's you kind of, I guess the QHHT has gotten a lot of foot traffic because it's been sensationalized on YouTube and things like that. So you've got Dolores's books, which, I even struggle. I mean, I'm a scientist and I even struggle sometimes getting through her stuff, but I think it's because of the way it's written, because it's basically just the back and forth between her and,
some of it's so deep.
What she's talking. Yeah,
metaphysical
exactly.
Takes a while for most people, I think, to be able to comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are just so
exactly. And so there's a lot of sensationalism around that. And so a lot of people want to have a QHHT session because they think, oh, I'm going to have this.
I just want to give an example. I had someone reach out to me and the email said, I want to get full custody of my kids. I'm like, what? I didn't even respond because I'm like, that's not what this is. You have to be willing to do the work.
Right.
She just wanted me to snap because I had a lady come in. She was like, well, Dolores said you can do anything you want. I'm like, she wanted to quit smoking. I was like, I've never dealt with that, but we can work on it in the session. But this is more about you and your journey and stuff like that.
Right.
When we get in there, I'm like, well, how many times have you tried to quit smoking? Never. I never quit smoking. I can't. And I was like, Why do you think I can help you if
Right.
you've never even tried? That's not what this is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to give, because they saw the videos, the little clips. It wasn't even like they read the books. Maybe this is a bridge for them. Right. But they never read the books. They never really did research. They just heard Dolores say, you can do anything. There's no limits.
Right.
So it's like the victim mentality. Fix me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do the work. Just come fix me.
Fix me. And I think that's
No.
right. Exactly. And I think
I'm not going to do it.
That's the misconception too,
Sure.
is that everything's going to get fixed, in these sessions, and, oh, my subconscious is going to come through and they're going to tell me what my life's path is and they're going to fix this for me. It's like, that's not what this is. If you want a quick fix, like, it's almost like people are expecting us to do the work for them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, just fix me.
I mean, everyone, but you
Right.
get those clients
Yeah.
because of the YouTube, the shorts and stuff, they just see one little piece of.
Well, and I mean, I'll give you an example too. I had a client that, didn't go into any past lives during the session. And, we'll explain in a little bit why, you don't necessarily go into past lives. So that's another kind of misnomer with QHHT and BQH. But again, sensationalized is the past lives. But she had a bunch of problems and she was like, I'm convinced that it's from a past life and whatever. And so she goes into the trance and she just keeps going back to events that happened in this life. Now, if I had taken the introspective hypnosis when I had her, I would have known better how to deal with that. But with the QHHT and all, it's kind of like, your current life, what are we here looking at? Kind of a thing. So if I had taken Antonio's course first, I think I would have been able to handle it better. But she was completely
Let down
and kind of ticked off afterwards because she only stayed in this life. She didn't see any past life. And I said, that's because your problems are rooted in this life. If they were rooted in a past life, then they would be in a past life. And I think that was what it was, is she wanted it to be something else. She wanted the problems to have originated somewhere besides her current life because that's easier to deal with. That's easier to confront.
Yeah.
And so I felt really bad that she was disappointed, but I do make it clear to people, you don't necessarily go to a past life. It's in QHHT, BQH, even introspective. You go wherever your soul and your subconscious knows your healing needs to be. So you can come into the session with one, idea of what's going to go on and one expectation, and that's totally not what happens. And that's kind of my other issue with the QHHT and VQH, is that you're kind of skimming the surface of the past life or this life, whatever happened.
Yeah,
it's, we tell people, you don't have to experience it if you don't want to. You don't have to feel the pain of your death or anything like that. You can just watch it.
Like it's a TV.
Right. Like it's a TV. So you're taking the person out of it and almost like, oh, no, you're a victim. You don't want to feel this again. No.
We'll just have the higher self care of everything.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And then what happens is you get to the end of the session and maybe their subconscious doesn't talk or they don't let it talk.
No, they don't need to heal that.
Exactly. They don't need to heal. Right. So it's too wishy-washy for me. And I don't really feel that the healing is as profound as it is with the introspective. Because the introspective is you are doing the work. You are going to go through the trauma again. We want to be clear about that. There's no skirting over it. It is difficult. We have both done it several times. You have to go through the experience again from start to finish in order to fully recover and to have this be the last time you go through it.
Yeah. You have to feel it to heal it. So Antonio gave the analogy of like, if someone goes in for like pancreatic surgery, you're not going to feel good the next day, right? But probably not the next week. But over time, as the body heals. The other thing is, if this trauma is not resolved, it's going to be like a splinter where it's never going to go away. Right. It's always going to be there bothering you, hurting a little bit, triggering other stuff. So IH, introspective hypnosis, gets right into it. And as I was doing more sessions, because it'll be 5 years in July that I've been doing QHHT sessions, I was like, I don't understand. Like Brian Weiss's book, he took the girl, I don't remember her name. Was it Kathy? Back to a life in Egypt, I think, to cure the asthma. He said, let's go back to when it originated. I believe it's been a while since I read his book, but it was something like he thought she was going to go back to childhood or something else. And she went back to this life in Egypt where there was a flood. And I was like, see, they're doing the work in the past life. But QHHT, the higher self, does the work. But what if it doesn't come in? Or what if it doesn't want to work with you?
Mm-hmm.
Should we touch on what QHH or IH actually is? Did we get into that yet?
No. So you want to get into, go ahead.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
We can edit this stuff out.
Absolutely. Or we leave it in. If people know that we're real.
We're real. And we're not perfect, so.
Yeah. And it is our first episode.
Yeah. So I kind of already touched on it, what introspective hypnosis incorporates. But how I explain to people is you're healing trauma on a soul level.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that kind of, that summarizes it. We're taking you back to sad memories where the soul needs to heal. Because in a past life, if the soul didn't heal or wasn't able to process it, the event that happened, it's going to stick with the soul. And one of the things that was very profound for me in understanding at the training was this, because I said, why do past life events bother us in this life? Because the soul goes into the light and they should get healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was explained to me that for the soul or the spirit, it's one life. It's not different lives. So you go into the light, but to the soul, it's like a straight line almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not healed.
His example is probably a good one for how you carry it with you. You want to tell his example?
I don't remember all the
details.
No, I listened to it.
Oh, in the class, one of our classmates, Giovanni. Hi, Giovanni. We're going to have him on as a guest one day. So he had an experience where, when he went back, so the first thing you do after you do the induction is you tell the person to go find a sad memory. It's not hard. People do it very easily. So he's not talking at first or whatever. So we guide you. The facilitators, like, we'll ask you questions like, tell me what's going on. Tell me who's there with you, etc. So, they started, asking him questions, and he's like, I'm dragging my body across the floor. Again, don't jump into conclusions as to what this is about, because it's not. This is the first thing I thought was, oh my God, he's dead. He's dragging his body across the floor. So he's like, I'm dragging my body across the floor. And we're like, oh, okay. Okay. What are you dragging yourself across? I'm trying to get a toy. And we're like, oh, okay. So he's probably a little kid or something, but let's keep going. Okay. You're trying to get a toy. Yeah. And, so he finally gets the toy. He's happy he got the toy. And then he starts to, we're like, what about this memory is sad? And he says, my aunties are laughing at me. And why are your aunties laughing at you? Because of the way that I move, the way that I drag my body across the floor. And we find out that it was because his arm wasn't working right. And so he would literally, I'm not sure if he did an army crawl or what he did, but he was dragging his one arm. It just didn't want to work. So he's basically crawling with one arm, and they were laughing at him about it. And so, like Antonio did a role reversal, which we'll talk about what they are, but he did a role reversal with the mother. And he's like, Mom, what's going on? And she's like, oh, they're laughing at him. Okay, well, what are you telling them? I'm telling them it's not nice. I'm telling them, don't laugh at him. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. This and that. And, they're like, do you know why he's dragging his arm? Is there something wrong with his arm? The mother's like, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine. Everything's fine. So couldn't really understand what this was all about. Well, basically what you do in that process then is, at that point he was feeling shame. So it was, okay, where in your body are you storing this shame that you feel from this? And of course he was storing it in his arm. So we go through the process of removing that pain and removing that shame and then replacing it with something else. And so then he goes into another sad memory. And then this sad memory is him when he's a soldier. So this was a past life. And I'm not exactly sure what war it was, but he was a soldier and he was killing people and he felt shame about that and guilt. And so it turns out that this arm that wouldn't work when he was a baby was his trigger arm from this war. And because he felt such shame and guilt about killing all these people, he was storing that in this arm. And so when he died, there was no closure. And so he carried that with him into this life. And so then that's why when he was a little kid, that arm wouldn't work. He was carrying all that shame with him. He brought it with him. So that's kind of a quick example of how you can bring things from other lives into this life, and then how we're able to discover that and clear it up.
Did his arm feel better after the session?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, he said that he.
Did he say he always had problems with?
Yeah, always had problems with his arm.
That's a perfect example,
right,
of how powerful it is.
Yeah,
right? The somatic healing.
Yep,
from a memory.
Yep, it's crazy.
It is. That was a wild session.
So that was, again, that's just kind of an example of what it brings through. But, and then like a little bit about the process.
So with introspective hypnosis, it's not rooted in QHHT, but I feel like a lot of people that do introspective hypnosis are from the QHHT community. So our trainer, Antonio, his assistant, I don't know what to call Alba. Right. She also started with QHHT, but it's different because with QHHT, it's a lot of metaphysical stuff. Yes, you'll get some past lives, maybe. Same with introspective hypnosis. Doesn't necessarily mean you will. But QHHT is really big on ET stuff, right?
Right.
I had one yesterday, an ET ordeal, I guess you call it. Mm. But introspective hypnosis is healing trauma.
Right. In this, the trauma from this life, and then anything that's been carried over.
Yeah.
From a past life.
So we already touched on Antonia brought it together from. Yeah. Did I say his name? Aurelio Mejia?
Yeah, you're right. Aurelio Mejia, yeah.
And then Jose Luis Kabuli. I love saying that name.
Kabuli. Kabuli. I know. I do. I love that name.
And it's a lot shorter than QHHT. My QHHT sessions, I would tell people, plan for about 5.5 hours. Over the past year, they've gotten shorter, more around a little over 4 hours. Where this is, what do you tell people? 3?
Yeah, 2 to 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the big difference too. The QHHT, like I said, people are, some of the practitioners out there charge upwards of $2,000 for a session. And I'm like, what? Yeah, it's insane. And then if the people have to travel there to get to them, and things like that. And
flight, hotel.
Right. And again, like I said, there's not that many practitioners around the world. And yeah, that was the whole reason I got drawn, to BQH was because I could do it over the internet. And when I first started doing it, my first couple of clients were from Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I had one from Canada. So it's, it just opens it up to people. And, again, like you said, with the perspective, me personally, I think the QHHT to BQH is really cool. It was a cool entrance into this. And if people are interested in seeing some past lives and having some experiences, then, that's a good way to go. But I feel like if it's healing that you want from, trauma in this life or things that have happened in the past life
too.
Or blocks. Yeah. Blockages you have. I just feel like the introspective is a lot more profound and powerful and really, just gets to the root of it. I just think that it's a little more intimidating because you do have to go through the trauma, but on the other end of it, when you're coming out of your session and everything, it's, suggestions are made, you're going to feel great. You've gotten closure. This is now gone. You no longer have to deal with this. We've resolved it, whatever. So, those little suggestions are put in there too. But, like Liz said earlier, Antonio said, it's like when you get a surgery, you have to heal. So yes, will you be off balance? Maybe for a couple of days, possibly. Yeah. It depends on how traumatic, this session was for you, and how much of it you, remember. So, it's a process, but on the other end of it is a better life.
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of so many of those things that, give you a pit in your stomach when you think about it.
Because you're getting to the core of it. It's
Right.
not like with QHHT, you might go to that life and understand the memory, but not always.
Mm-hmm.
Where with introspective hypnosis, you are getting into that memory. You know exactly where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I feel like with IH, it's more sure. Where this is kind of wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy, yeah. Yeah. And like I said too, like we were talking about, like, with the QHHT, it's kind of like, a couple of scenes, what's going on in this
What
scene?
happens next?
And what happens next? And again, Dolores made a point to say that most sessions are not these metaphysical ones that she wrote books about. I mean, those were specific clients that she worked with for years and years and years.
Yeah.
It wasn't like every client that she had came in and gave this incredible metaphysical information and she was writing books about it. No, she worked with the same individuals to do the Nostradamus books. She worked with the same individuals, to do the other ones I'm thinking about.
The Jesus ones, Jesus and the Ascent.
Yeah, Jesus. And then there was, what are the metaphysical ones though? The
convoluted
universe and stuff like that. So people are under the false impression that, they're going to come in and everybody that she worked with. No,
they're going to be on a spaceship.
Right. Exactly.
Which isn't uncommon.
No.
I've had a lot of those.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't mean that's what's
exactly.
That's not what you need.
Exactly. It's not. Yeah, exactly. And the other part I don't like about it either is it's like the dots aren't put together until you get to the subconscious. And then it's like, oh, subconscious, explain to me what the pattern was here. Or, whatever. It's like you're relying on the subconscious to tell you.
It's like you're relying on a third party almost.
Exactly. To tell you what happened and how it's affecting you. And then poof, just take it away. But it's like trauma is like an earworm. You get that song in your head. And if you keep stopping yourself from thinking about that song, it just keeps coming back until you play it through till the end. And then you can get rid of it. Trauma is the same thing. If like every time you think about it, you get this pit in your stomach and you're like, I don't want to think about it anymore. And you shut it off. You're not getting closure. Right. So it's going to keep coming up and coming up because your brain wants to get rid of it. Your brain wants closure. So, I think, that's the important point I think about the introspective hypnosis is it really gets to the core of what happened. You go through it, you deal with it in a safe environment. And when you come out of it, you're a different person. I mean, I don't think anybody in the class, I haven't had anybody that I've done a session for that was like, I was okay.
Right.
It was like.
Because you're working with the emotions are so strong.
Right.
So even if you don't get pictures or your third eye's not giving you what's going on, you know it because you can feel the emotion.
Right.
Right. Emotions are energy.
Yeah.
And energy holds information.
Right.
So there's a question on here. We have questions. What was your first? Are we at this point yet?
Sure. Yeah.
We skipped around, but I feel like we're hitting all the bullets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What was your first impression of each of these methods when you discovered it? I think we kind of
covered that. Yeah.
Did anything surprise you about how effective it is? And then why do you think traditional therapy might not reach the same depth? So I kind of wanted to touch on the session I listened to, and I said, yes, this is it. This is how it's supposed to be. Was with Alba, and in the lifetime, the guy went back. He was like a fur trader back in that time, and he had a son with him, his little son, and a wagon came down the road and killed the son. Right.
Okay.
So Alba role changed, took him through the event, role changed so he could speak to the son who is now sold, and told him that this was planned. I did this for you so that you could learn from my death. And it was so powerful. And I was like, that makes total sense. Everything that I just listened to and heard makes total sense. Cause I feel like there's this box with QHHT. There's this little box. Don't you dare step out of it.
Right.
Right.
No,
that can't happen.
Don't
let them feel. Yeah. No, attachments don't exist.
Right.
Where introspective hypnosis, they tell us like everything is possible. Mm-hmm. Listen, I've had people be dinosaurs. One time a lady was a rock. She was a rock. A very, very long time next to a volcano. So how are you going to tell me that these things don't happen when they do? People be, dinosaur is the one that sticks out the most. I may have had people be other types of animals, but.
Well, and the thing is too, what I think a lot of people are like, a rock, what? It's inanimate. Okay.
Everything is consciousness.
Everything is consciousness, but it's also sometimes it's a metaphor. Sometimes it's not a past life. It's nothing like that. It's because I heard a session one time where they were like, the person was a speaker, a concert speaker, like a speaker, like, and I'm like, are you like, give me a break. It was just a metaphor. It was a metaphor for the fact that this person had, should use their voice. You're strong. Use your voice. Don't be afraid. And I don't remember all the particulars, but I was like, okay. And so this was kind of the same thing. My client was like, a cliff. She was just a cliff. I was like, what are you doing at the cliff? But it was all about like watching time just go by and not living her life or whatever it was. So, you can have things that are metaphors if there's not necessarily a past life to draw on to show you what the problems are in your current life and why you're having these issues. Then sometimes they'll use metaphors or, just show you something, but it's no less powerful.
Right.
Because again, it's not important, in my opinion anyway, it's not important whether I actually lived those past lives or not.
It's about the healing.
It's about the healing. And it showed me, it clearly showed me the track and how this repeats.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because that's important. We got to stop the trauma cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so to do that, sometimes you need to see that it's a pattern. So then you realize you need to stop that pattern. And so, I feel like that's, kind of what it is too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think the rock one, it was because she needed to feel what it was like to be grounded. I think this was
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's crazy. The different things that happen. No sessions are the same.
No.
At least none of mine have been. I mean, you were saying like that was like the one that kind of cemented you with the stuff. I don't really remember what like it was that I saw that I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to try this. Trying to think.
Was it just me suggesting it?
No. I meant the QHHT.
Oh, the QHHT.
Yeah,
I thought you meant. Yeah, the story I gave was an introspective.
Oh, that was for the introspective. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because when I heard, I was like, yes.
Right, you're
makes
like,
sense.
That's what this is. Yeah,
that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
He can talk to him. That makes total sense.
Right.
They're in the spirit world.
Right. And that was the other thing too, is, I gained so much more confidence in Antonio's class.
Totally.
Whereas like with QHHT, not so much BQH. I would say BQH has the same sort of philosophy as Antonio, as far as how actually simple it is to get someone under.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas QHHT drills into your head that you have to know the script.
Exactly.
And you have to know the script exactly. And you have to say it a certain way. And in order to become a level 3 practitioner, you need to be able to regurgitate the script word for word in the proper tone and like all this stuff. Like you got to go through coaching and all this other shit. And it's like, no.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
When I was taking the level 2, I went back to watch the level 1, which, by the way, the videos are awful.
Mm-hmm.
Please clean that up. Yeah. Organize it for people. A lot of the audio you can't even hear. I don't want to see them laughing for 15 minutes. I mean, I love Dolores. I'm sure Julie's a great person.
Right.
But I want to get trained, not watch people laughing for 15 minutes. You know what I'm talking
about? Right.
But what I was getting at is, Dolores says in the first training, I have it written down, so if anybody wants it, I have the video and the timestamp. This is just a template. Just take it and make it your own. Change the things around so it fits you. She says that. Mm. So why do you have to say it just doesn't, it's just so weird to me.
Yeah. And it's like, and you can't, like, it's a no to incorporate any other, like, metaphysical type things. Like, I'm not allowed to use Reiki. You can't use, my singing bowls. You can't use tuning forks. I know Alba does a lot of things with, like, tuning forks. you can't use any of that with the QHHT. BQH, you absolutely can. They do like a really cool water alchemy in theirs where you set your intention into the water and then drink it before the session and after the session and stuff like that. So it's really kind of cool. Gets people into it a little bit, like, starts the process of getting them to open up, and things like that. But yeah, just the rigidness of the QHHT. And then, Liz will attest to this. We still have at least for QHHT, I've never had a successful QHHT session because I know the script too well. And so for me, I'm just reiterating the script in my head.
Or if I mess up, she messed up.
Yeah, you messed up. Yeah, like it throws me out of it. Like I can't even go into a trance because I already know what you're going to say. And so it was like when we got to Antonio's course and it was just like, boom, quick inductions, 4-second, 5-second inductions. And, just the whole element. Yeah. And the element induction and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you can make it what you want. You can do whatever feels right to you, and it's adaptable and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just such a better process. I
think so. It's more flexible. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Their experience is going to be different. Where they come from is different. How their mind process is different. I mean, everything you can think of is different. We're all individual. That's why we're unique and why we're all special. Mm-hmm. So you need to have tools to put people under in different ways.
And, and that's the other thing too. Just I'm thinking about that too, as far as, the whole Zoom, being able to do it over the internet and stuff. Dolores, again, I feel like, you when you go through the training or whatever, in the later trainings, Julia talks about how, her mom, Dolores did not want to move to digital recorders. She insisted, she wanted to use the analog recorders and stuff. And they're like, oh, you need to get with the times. You need to get with the times. It took her forever to start using digital recorders. And it's like, I feel like that's the way she was with doing it over Zoom. I just feel like she wasn't comfortable with it and kind of set in her ways. I don't buy that they said you can't, that, the subconscious or whoever she was speaking to told her you can't do it over Zoom. I don't buy that. I also don't like the fact that they kind of scare you that like, no, you can't leave your client, in this state when you're not in the room. Oh my God, something could happen. They could get up and fall and this and that. But you're aware.
You're aware.
You're aware. And so, and you can come out of the trance whenever you want.
So, yeah, exactly. So for one, I feel like QHHT stopped evolving because we are all constantly evolving. Things are constantly changing, right? The other thing is when I did hypnobabies, so I would practice a self-hypnosis technique. And then I would also listen to tracks every night. Like I used the iPod. I think that's what those things are called, with just the audio of a track. They had deepening ones, they had fear releasing ones, or whatever. I don't remember what all they're. But when she starts and she's putting you under, taking you down the stairs, she'll say, if there's an emergency and something happens, you'll wake up immediately. You'll be able to function. You'll know exactly where you are. Like she implants those things, so it can be done. Like Antonia said, if the line gets cut or whatever, you lose connection, the client's going to realize it. Yeah. So there's no reason it can't be done.
Oh, QHHT had me scared to death. Or actually, QHHT had me scared to death because in one episode, or the one session I was doing was right toward the end of the session. I didn't realize she was doing it on an iPhone. And now you have to do it on a computer. I won't do it on an iPhone. But she was doing it on an iPhone and she didn't have it plugged in. So all of a sudden at the end, it died.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to call her because I had said, make sure your phone is there and that if I call you, you answer it, whatever. And I'm calling and I'm just getting the recording. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to count her out. Like she has to be, that's the other thing is you have to be counted out. You have to sever everything. You have to do this and that. And, you got to count somebody out, but no, it doesn't need to be that.
You're not going to be in hypnosis the rest of their life.
Exactly. Right.
Even I saw someone last week, I did introspective hypnosis. And our outro, I guess, is a lot shorter than QHHT. Right. And what I realized is she actually needed a longer one because it was taking her a while to adjust. I sat with her for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what was my point?
Oh, the lengthy exit. And that you have to count it out or else.
Oh yeah. So you're
gonna
gonna pop out of it. You're gonna pop out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, even during one of my sessions, it was, at one point she was looking at me like we were having a conversation. She wasn't laying there, asleep. She was like having a conversation.
Right.
She was still in a trance. She was still getting things because she was basically repeating everything she was getting, but she was aware enough that she just let it flow but felt more comfortable staring at me and having a conversation.
That might be a good episode. Like, you will be aware.
Yeah, right.
Just because your eyes are closed.
Yeah.
It might not be. The lady I saw yesterday, her eyes were not closed.
Oh, really?
She was looking right at me.
She was looking at her. Yeah. Yeah.
Should we, do you think we covered everything in here? Or is there anything else?
Probably. Yeah. Let me see. Do we have,
I almost feel like it was a QHHT bashing session. And it's part of our evolution to go through QHHT. QHHT is still good. I'm still a practitioner, but now I have more tools to help people.
Right.
And if someone comes to me, I'm doing everything I can to help them. And isn't that what we should be doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people, like, maybe just QHHT is exactly for them. Like, it must be, because what's her name? She's got like a long waiting list.
Oh,
She
yeah.
charges like $2,000 a session. Like, great, but anyone can do that.
Right. And the thing is too, like, I've listened to her sessions and they're no different than mine.
I feel like they're so dry.
They are dry.
That's the only way I know how to explain it. They're just so dry.
Yeah.
The box.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about that. And and it's like,
get into it.
Right. Right. And the only other thing too is it's not, all the ones that are broad, put on YouTube are all the sensational ones.
Right.
So,
everyone that goes does not have that type of sensation.
Exactly.
Even Dolores says it. She's like, I get everyone under. I've heard her say in the training sessions, because I've listened to those a couple times. Because here's the thing, guys. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Right. So it's also about allowing yourself to experience it. But she's talked about difficult sessions she's had, or people didn't believe it the next day. The lady was back in her office screaming, or on the phone screaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. So
yeah. I mean, and that's I guess that's a key thing to say is, you have to be ready for what's going to come out.
And try not to have expectations.
Exactly.
Like the lady that you saw that knew she wanted to go to past lives. That's not what she got.
Yeah.
And then you're upset, and then you got a whole different level of emotions you got to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
But I always tell people, have high hopes, but zero expectations.
Right.
Like whatever happens, just let it flow.
Exactly. Yeah. Just let it flow. And the more you surrender to it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah.
Because like, again, with me, you did my session and I was completely resistant. But I feel like
I thought you did good.
I did, but
you were a little difficult at first.
Yeah.
But at the end, I felt like you let go, but it's not what I think. It's what you think.
Exactly. Like, so, we'll go into, in another podcast, we'll go into more in depth about what the process is and kind of like how you go through the process, and what your expectations should be. Cause like I said to you, like, I was expecting it was going to be like a mirror or a movie in front of my face, and I was going to see everything, and all I saw was blackness. And so for me, it's a feeling. So I could feel what clothing I had on, that kind of thing. I didn't actually see them, but once I kind of released myself and surrendered to it, then I could start to see. But it's not the seeing like a movie. It's like, I say this to my clients, close your eyes and describe to me everything that you see as you go from your bedroom down to your kitchen every morning. And then they start to describe everything. And I go, now you didn't actually see that, right? And they're like, well, kind of, but no, like nobody can really explain it. And I'm like, that's what it is. So don't expect that it's going to be a movie that you're just watching in front of your eyes. It may not be. Some people get cartoons.
I did.
Oh, did you have somebody that was a cartoon?
No, I was the cartoon.
Oh, you were the cartoon. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my first QHHT session of me being under, and I saw myself exactly like Alice in Wonderland. And this is an example I use all the time with my clients. Like, I started to say, why am I don't Alice in Wonderland? That's the analytical mind. I just kept answering her questions, and we got a little bit more into it. And I looked down and I saw my hands. I was a little girl a long time ago, filthy. I mean, I can still see it in my mind. The filthiness of my fingernails and my hands. I was so dirty. I had like almost brown rags for clothes, but I didn't analyze it in the beginning. So whatever reason, my mind said, let's ease her into this. And it ended up being an extremely traumatic lifetime. My mother told me I was basically a sex slave. The men kept coming in. I mean, it was awful, awful. Which probably we still need to work on because there's still emotions surrounding that.
Definitely.
But that's the example I give. Like, if something like that happens, just keep answering our questions.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Well, and the one session that I had too, the gentleman went back to, a happy memory, like the first thing that he went into, but he was very cautious about having the session done. He wanted to have it done, but the memory that he wanted to explore was very triggering for him. It happened when he was a child and he was in his 50s and it was still affecting him. And, so you could tell he was very anxious. And even during the interview, like he didn't even want to have very much of an interview. He was very closed off. And so I was just like, all right, let's just go into it and see what happens. And it ended up at first, he didn't think he was under because he went back to this memory and he goes, well, it's weird because that's like my happiest memory. Like he's like, but I'm obviously not under because I went back to this happy memory or whatever. We ended up finding out that his soul or subconscious showed him that in order to calm him down,
to go into,
to get him into a better frame of mind. And so then when he went into this event, which was the next thing that came up, he went right to that event. He saw it differently. And afterwards, like he got himself out of the session just as proof that people can pull themselves out. All of a sudden he went, I'm done. I'm good. I got what I needed. And I'm all like, what's going on? Like, you've only done it for like 20 minutes.
That's all
It's
you
supposed to be
needed,
2 hours. Yeah. He's like, I'm done. Bring me out. I'm like, okay. I brought him out. And then he starts telling me how the memory, he's like, I was totally under. I know I didn't think I was. He goes, but I was because the memory was different. He goes, and I think it was because I didn't have the fear tied to it. He goes, I went into it a little differently. And so he was able to see that what he thought was so fearful because he was a child really wasn't a fearful event.
Wow.
It was an experience. And he even contacted me the next day and said, I woke up this morning for the first time in like 20 years and had a positive outlook on my life.
Wow.
He's like, I literally would wake up every morning and not want to live because I'm tormented by this memory. And he goes, and now I realize it doesn't define me, whatever. And he's like, I am so excited about my future. That's the kind of thing that you get out of these sessions that makes it worth doing it.
Yeah.
And this is why I want to try to reach as many people as I can, because everybody deserves a good life. We deserve to be rid of our trauma. We didn't ask for it. But like I say, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. And that's what I want all of my clients.
We're students.
Right. You might come in thinking you're a victim. When you leave, you're going to realize you're a survivor and it's going to change your outlook on things.
And it's only happening to us so we can learn from it. When things get tough sometimes and I've got something going on, I'm like, all right, fine. I get it. It's a lesson. What do I have to learn here? Let me just get it done. Like sitting down, taking the test. Let's just do this darn thing.
Yeah.
Get it over.
But
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Session.
So,
okay. So it's our first podcast. We did it.
Yeah.
5 minutes, girlfriend.
Wow. Okay, guys.
We're going to record some more.
Yeah, we're going to do some more. So you guys hopefully we'll be posting 3 together for the first time. We're going to try to put 3 out there all at the same time. And then we're going to try to post weekly. So, please follow us and
stick with us.
All
right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks a lot.